Why do I feel like every time you guys see this gun, there's something new on it or I've done something different? Hey guys, how are you doing? Dom here. Hopefully you've been well in these trying times. Nobody could possibly have seen a global pandemic and shutdown about to happen, but here we are. A lot has happened on my end. My wife and I, we had our child. We moved into this new home. I've been blessed to still be working. God is good. But enough of that, straight to the topic of the video. Hasn't it been awesome to see how many new gun owners we have? I just want to do my part and share some of my tips with you. I know a lot of YouTubers are actually already doing this. A lot of gun channels are already doing this. I just want to give you some tips, maybe even you could call them tricks, that I know for a fact helped me when I was new to gun ownership. Oh, and really quick, if you're new here and you would love to support me, please go ahead and hit the like button or the subscribe button. Hit the bell notification, it really does help me out. And let's get into it. Brief background on myself. I am not a special operative. I am not a Navy SEAL. I am in no form of military. I've never been in any form of military. I am not a police. I am just a regular legally armed civilian that happens to train a lot. I happen to practice a lot. And I was fortunate enough that when I first started learning about guns, I had a great teacher and mentor that kind of like opened the doors of the gun world to me the right way. So here we go. Tip number one. The best gun that you can have is the gun on you. A lot of times there can be a lot of ego in the carry world. Not everybody's like that. You'll have people argue with you and tell you what caliber you should be using or what brand of gun you should be using or how many rounds your gun should carry or how many spare magazines you should have. At the end of the day, having and carrying a firearm on you for your personal or your family's safety or anybody else's safety is better than not carrying that gun on you. Understanding that you, with the proper training, is an asset to the rest of the population, plain and simple. It's really hard to argue that, let's just say somebody carrying a 22 is worse off than somebody not carrying at all. The best gun that you can carry is the one that you have on you. Tip number two, another carry tip, please test and shoot your carry ammo. I highly recommend that. This actually comes from a family member that heard from a friend that he shouldn't be shooting his carry ammo. He shouldn't go to the range and test his carry ammo in his gun. That is absolutely false. Please make sure that whatever ammo you choose cycles correctly inside of your gun. And then if you do decide to go to another or a different brand, test that brand out also. For me, if I buy a box of 50 rounds to use in my carry gun, I'm buying another 50 to test it at the range. I am firing through, and I know it's expensive. I know carry rounds, let's just say 9mm, it can be $1 or $1 plus per round, depending on what brand you go with. But that's a small price to pay for your life. I don't really know how else to put that. Tip number three, another carry tip. Apparently I made a lot of mistakes when I started carrying. This tip is rotate your carry ammo. What does that mean? All right. A lot of people call this different things. They call it a bullet being set back, seated improperly, pushed into the casing, however you want to call it. I'll just show you. This is a old, what I consider to be a bullet that I will no longer carry. Okay, mind you, I carry a Federal HST 147 grain. That's just my ammo of choice. I've had great success with it. I'll actually put a link below. I believe it was Lucky Gunner. They tested a bunch of carry ammo, penetration, reliability. Choose what brand you want based off of that. Some really good information in that. So this is a round that I would not carry. Notice there has been almost like an indentation around the tip of the casing right here, as well as the back of the casing looking kind of swollen compared to the front. What you can't see right now, or what you probably don't realize, is that the actual bullet itself has been pushed back into the casing some. Every time you chamber around and then you come home at the end of the day, you unload it, you rechamber it. When you're leaving again, you unload it. You do that enough for a year or 6 months or whatever have you, your bullets start to look like this. This can definitely cause failure to load. And I guarantee you, if I load up 18 or 17 plus 1, 18 bullets in my gun that all look like this, I'll have 2 or 3 failures to load. This is what a brand new Federal HST 147 grain bullet looks like. This is the part I really wanted to show you guys. Probably better off showing you like this. You can see that the new bullet is actually taller or seated higher in the casing than the old one, because this one has not been set back at all. This will fire fine. This will probably fire as well, but it could cause a failure to load. The other thing is, let's just say you have a couple of bullets like this in your magazine, and you carry plus P or plus P plus ammo. The chances, unfortunately, of your gun blowing up kind of increases exponentially. Rotate your carry ammo. I would suggest every 6 months. Will it last longer than that? Yeah, probably, but a good habit is to rotate it every 6 months, take out the old ammo, shoot it off, put new ammo in your carry gun. Tip number 4. When learning the gun safety rules and you hear finger off the trigger, a lot of people will just, take the finger off the trigger. Well, I feel like every time I show you guys my PBQ, it's at a different stage. I obviously did a lot to it. Again, we'll talk about that some other video, but it's clear. Back to what I was saying. A lot of times when people say finger off the trigger, this is what they do. That's all well and fine, but I think we forget a lot of times when somebody is new to gun ownership, they tend to be a lot of times jerky, or their finger will be on the trigger or close to it. I stress whenever I'm bringing somebody new with me to the range, finger off the trigger means finger as high as it can go off of the trigger. If it can go over the slide, put it over the slide. I do not care. I do not want that finger near the trigger. No mishaps, no slides, anything. Finger off the trigger means finger off the trigger as far away as it can go while you're still holding the gun. That's kind of one that maybe some people don't agree with. What's the harm in it? Once you start to get better off with it, of course, this is fine. Safety first. So finger off the trigger. Oh, while I have my PBQ on hand, might as well do the next tip. This one kind of helped me after I started progressing with my shooting a little bit. One of the things that you really want to do once you start shooting a lot, and you're realizing that you're getting better, is you want to understand how to control recoil a lot better, recoil management. A lot of what I used to read, used to watch, used to be instructed was to grip the gun as tight as possible. And my issue was I was doing that, and right now, if I grip the gun as tight as possible, I can dang near feel the gun flex. But I would notice that putting so much pressure on the gun didn't improve my recoil management whatsoever. After studying it quite a bit more and just practicing and trying different things and seeing what actually works for me and what doesn't, I realized that I don't need to squeeze the gun with all my life. Not saying it doesn't work for some people, it just didn't work for me. So what do I do then? Not to make this a grip class or anything like that. Simply put, I realized that joint manipulation and joint strength is much more important to shooting for me than any grip could be. So what does that mean? I can grip this gun as hard as I want with all my life, just straight gripping it to the point where I'm shaking and backing off a little bit. I can do that just fine. But if my wrist is loose, mind you, I have a tight grip right now, the tightest it can be. It's not rocket science. My wrist needs to be stiff, okay? So what I've been training and what I've been actually practicing, and where I really started noticing my recoil management going, just taking like leaps and bounds, is where I grip the gun, but I mentally focus on keeping my wrist stiff. Now it's not just my wrist, it's actually my elbow as well, and my shoulder. So I believe that was tip number 4. Grip isn't 100% everything. Grip is important, I'm not saying that, but technique when it comes to joint manipulation and even just strengthening your joints and making a mental note to stiffen, certain joints will go leaps and bounds when it comes to managing your recoil. Tip number 5, this is probably going to offend some people, I hope it doesn't. There's no such thing as a comfortable holster. Oh man, hear me out. Example. When you're going to bed at night, you lay down on a pillow, it makes you more comfortable. Hopefully. You're not going to put a holster on your body and have it feel more comfortable than if you didn't have it on you, okay? So I would say just get used to carrying wherever you carry, appendix, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever. Just get used to carrying in general. It starts to not feel as cumbersome. It starts to not feel as bothersome, I guess you could say. And the benefit is you're able to protect your life. It's a small price to pay for being a little bit uncomfortable. Now, are there holsters that are more comfortable than other holsters? Absolutely, 100%. Like I said, there's not going to be a holster that you can wear that you add to your body, that you add to your frame, that's going to make you feel more comfortable than if you didn't have it on at all. Okay, you're always going to know it's there. Anybody who tells you otherwise, I don't know what to say. And I've tried a lot of holsters. Now, some of them don't feel bad. And to be honest with you, after carrying for a while, if you don't have it on you, while obviously you're going to be comfortable, you start to feel like naked, you know? I would rather have it on me majority of the time. Yeah. Really good holsters make discomfort less noticeable, if that makes sense. That's how I would put it. I honestly forget what tip I'm on, so I'm just going to continue. Typical. Tip number, whatever this is. Not everybody who carries has an ego and walks around with that bravado. A lot of people who've been carrying for a while and understand the responsibility and the law that comes behind carrying, it actually weighs down on them. You know, it's, for me personally, it's a weight on my back. I wouldn't necessarily call it a burden. It's just a huge responsibility. And every day I carry, it's not something that I wish I had to do, you know? I wish I didn't have to carry it all, but it's the world we live in right now. When you first start carrying, you'll feel it. You'll feel the weight, especially when you start carrying one in the chamber. Hopefully you do decide to do that eventually. You'll feel the weight, you'll feel the nervousness, you'll feel the pressure, you'll feel the just, oh man, it's hard to put it into words what it feels like, but it almost goes away altogether. Not saying that you won't respect it still, but it does go away and it gets easier. But definitely there's a lot of people out there that carry and understand the weight and the responsibility behind it. So not really a tip, just more like a understanding that not everybody walks around trying to be, you know, macho man, Randy Savage. Great segue to the next tip, which is know your gun safety laws, know your gun carry laws, at least for your state. You need to have some kind of understanding. A lot of people don't understand that if you use your gun, you know, there's a 50-50, you might end up in jail. If you use your gun, unfortunately, on another human being, you're going to jail. Now, for how long and for what the reason was obviously matters. And I don't want to talk too much on the situation and give somebody, you know, the wrong idea, like I know exactly what's going to happen in every situation, because it's completely different. I would say understand the consequences of using it, but also understand the consequences of not using it at the right time, and when to use it. You have to understand that if you do use it, the law enforcement, when they show up, they don't know what's happening, you know. So until the situation is cleared, let's just say you were using it and it's justified, until the situation is cleared, yeah, you have to, you know, unfortunately be detained. That's a small price to pay for me personally when it comes to understanding that this is what I can use to protect my family, whether it be carrying on the street or for home defense. So take that as you like it. Some people, I will say this though, in a lot of concealed carry classes, oftentimes when the instructor lets, you know, the class know that half the class, not even half, like 75% of the class a lot of the time is gone, is out the door. They're like, what? I'm gonna go to jail even if I used it to do the right thing? Oh, I'd rather not use it at all. And that always blows my mind. It's like, do you rather be put at a complete disadvantage where somebody could possibly take your life, your child's life, or just to each his own? For me personally, like I said in the previous step, no bravado. It's just it's a weight, but it's a weight that I have to carry. I try to tell people all the time, gun ownership isn't glorified. Next tip is don't exaggerate your stance. Leaning forward or having your weight forward is enough. Actually, an Army friend of mine said it best. As long as when you pick up one of your feet, doesn't matter left or right, you're forced to fall forward, that's enough. That is absolutely enough. And naturally, if that's happening, you're automatically going to bend your legs. You don't have to do like a full-on squat or anything like that. naturally your legs aren't going to be locked if you're doing that. If you are a person who locks your legs when you're leaning forward, you're trying to do the Michael Jackson lean. Unfortunately, what I see a lot of time too is when people realize that their stance is bad and the shots are pushing them backwards or pushing the gun upwards, they do like a lunge forward with one foot and put one foot like 2 feet forward, and it's almost like a karate stance, and they're trying to shoot the gun like that, and that's not what you want to do. Somebody who I often watch shoot, and he pretty much always blows my mind, is Jared Clausen. He's the owner of Tier 1 Concealed Holsters. He is an amazing shooter, and his stance, I would say, is more like a Weaver isosceles mix. It's the same stance I use. Before I started following him, I just naturally, over just trial and error, ended up with that stance. And it works. And I think a lot of it is just not over exaggerating the stance, not stressing it, understanding how to properly send that recoil from the gun to your wrist, to your elbow, to your shoulder, down the rest of your body, into the ground. It's basically just grounding. It's more of a full body technique than more of a grip thing or just a stance thing. It's a full body technique. And once you do it once or twice and you're like, oh wait a second, light bulb goes off and it switches. Okay, so the next tip most people may consider a little bit boring or general, but I would recommend it, is either getting a lawyer or looking into gun insurance or carrier insurance. I believe my wife and I are through US Law Shield, something like $20 a month, but it covers a lot. And I mean, it's kind of like your, God forbid, safety net if anything were to happen. It's very important. I don't want to go too much into it on what it offers or why it's important, but definitely look into it. There's tons of videos online about it and why it's important. Okay, so the last tip is a general tip, and you're going to see it in just about everybody's video on new gun owner tips. I saved it for last on purpose, but it's definitely the most important tip I can offer, and it's what I try to do as much as possible, and that is practice. It's not like riding a bike. It's not. If you don't practice, you will 100% not just be rusty, you'll be out of the mix completely. I can't stress it enough. Practice. If you think that you're going to, in a, let's just say a home defense, crisis situation where somebody just broke into your house, or if you're going to be able to just randomly grab your gun and use it efficiently without ever practicing, it's not going to happen. You might use it, but trust me, not in the way you want to. I don't want to go too far down that hole either, but just please practice. It makes a huge difference. And the better you know your gun, the more comfortable you are with it. That's just the bottom line. I believe that's it. All right, hopefully this video wasn't too long. Hopefully you guys stuck around to the end, and hopefully all of you new shooters got something from it. If you're a seasoned advanced shooter or a Navy SEAL, or I'm not expecting to teach you guys anything new, or I'm not expecting you guys to have even clicked on this or stay around this long, but hopefully everybody did get something from it, or even if it's learning how to better train somebody who, is new to gun ownership. I know a lot of the things that I said in this video, I hoped that somebody had explained to me just in a little bit more in detail, so maybe that can help, some of you seasoned guys out a little bit more, as far as teaching new shooters or new gun owners. So anyway, I hope the lockdowns aren't affecting you guys too much. I hope and pray everything truly turns out awesome for you guys, and you're able to protect your families and those you love, and yeah, let's ride this virus out, man. Talk to you soon.